Hello and welcome to our third season of Riverside Reflections. I'm your host, Denise. I'm the Associate Vice President of External Affairs at St. John's Riverside Hospital. And for our first episode this season, I have a wonderful guest by the name of William DuRoss, who is a nurse at St. John's, has been with us for a little bit, and we're going to find out more. But now he is our Director of Nursing Excellence. And so I'd like to welcome you to our program today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I alluded to the fact that you work here. Can you give me a little bit of where'd you go to nursing school? How long have you been with St. John's? Where have you been?
Sure. So I went to nursing school at the College of New Rochelle.
Okay.
And I kind of started at St. John's in high school. I started volunteering at Dobbs Ferry Hospital.
Okay.
And then...
Are you from Dobbs?
Nope, from Yonkers.
Okay.
From 5 minutes down the road.
All right.
So I actually used to bring my grandmother here all the time. She was, kind of sick. She had heart failure and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of got to, experience with nursing there, really seeing what the nurses did and seeing how well this hospital took care of her. Kind of really pushed me into nursing. I never thought I would be in nursing, to be honest, before that. And then I started volunteering at Dobbs Ferry, and I started working there as a secretary and unit secretary, and worked in the ER as a medical assistant.
Wow.
Throughout my nursing school and my master's, and I've remained here.
That's an interesting experience because although male nurses are more accepted now, it's still not quite the norm. So can you tell me, how that impacted you and sort of did it influence your decision-making when you were choosing nursing school?
It's funny. I never thought about it until I was in nursing school. I was, I was definitely the minority of being, a male in that profession. And it was funny. I remember speaking with my brother who was going, to college for engineering. And it was all males mostly in his course. So it was, I didn't really think of it until that point. I think it's different. You don't see it as much or you don't hear it as much. But I remember, working in the ER and you'd go in and the patient would be like, they would think I was the doctor. Oh, you can't be the nurse. You're a guy. You're a male.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it's a great profession. I wouldn't change it for the world.
So how long have you been with St. John's proper? I mean, I know you were at Dobbs too.
So St. John's has been about 17 years.
Wow.
This year will be 17 years.
So you're a lifer.
Yeah, it seems that.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you're a great nurse, and St. John's is lucky because it has a history of nursing excellence and a reputation for nursing excellence. But I'm fascinated because we are in the midst of, and just really started, I think, in May of 2025, a new project. And in that project, you've now become our Director of Nursing Excellence. So can you give me a little background on the project, what it is, and then explain to me what your role is?
Sure. It's a fantastic role. I took the role after speaking with the CNO kind of about it. And her vision of just, continuously reaching for, high level of achievement here, pushing nurses to the fullest, pushing them to do their best to learn, from their peers and from, evidence-based. And also, isn't it something they call working at the top of their license? Correct.
So explain for our audience what that means.
So working at the top of your license means, using all the tools and all the knowledge. Nursing is a science. It's based on medicine, so it's constantly changing. So something that was good when my grandmother was in the hospital and was standard of care there is very different from now. It changes daily,
Wow.
yearly. So to staying on top of that and staying up with your education and knowing the right thing to do and the best thing to do for the patient, for the outcomes, that's really, staying on top of your license.
Well, that certainly serves our mission. We are a community hospital at our very heart, and we have served our community for a very long time. And I love that our nurses are committed to continuing that idea that we're here for our community and to do the best for our community. So the hospital received a grant. So tell me about the grant.
Yeah, so the hospital was very lucky to receive a $5 million grant from the Mother Cabrini Foundation. the Mother Cabriti Foundation really focuses on, helping out health disparity communities, throughout New York State. The grant was applied for by our CNO, Herta Muller, and her team, and they selected several hospitals in May of last year to receive different grants at different amounts to push nursing excellence and achievements in those communities.
And so what's the designation that you're looking to achieve?
So we're working towards the ANCC Pathway to Excellence.
What is ANCC?
American Nursing Credentialing Center.
Great. So it's called Pathway to Excellence, and that designation is sort of something that puts our nursing team at the highest level of care for our patients.
It's really, it's making nursing a collaborative effort, having shared decision-making, having nurses in all meetings throughout the hospital. They're at the bedside, they're with the patient, they're, these clinical frontline staffers know what's best for the patient, right? So we need to listen to them. We need to, help them out to do the best they can.
And bring them into the conversation.
Yeah.
For sure. So there's a process that is being undertaken, and you're sort of in one of the leads of that process. Can you talk about the things that you've accomplished to date, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's coming?
Sure. So, in May we started, with a consulting company, and we kind of worked on getting, we did a survey throughout the hospital. We surveyed all employees, and we kind of got both nurse satisfaction and employee satisfaction. And now we're kind of action planning on those results. Right. So we stood up 5 different groups to try to action on, those items. One of them, well-being for nurses, nursing professional practice, interprofessional collaboration, where the whole team is, working together to, better everything we do, the quality and care of, our patients.
So in that process, are there 5 standards? There are 5 pillars? What are those?
There's 6 standards.
6 standards. So Billy, tell me what the 6 standards are that the nurses are going to be working through.
So for the Pathway to Excellence, the 6 standards are shared decision-making, professional development, leadership, safety, quality, and well-being.
Okay. So that's very interesting. Tell me about, just a little bit about the well-being. I kind of like that one. Professional development seems obvious to me, that they all should be striving to work top of license and improve their education and get certifications and things like that. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Quality and safety, that seems obvious to me. Leadership seems like that makes sense, encouraging people to step into leadership roles and lead the teams. And then tell me about well-being.
Well-being is kind of unique to Pathway to Excellence. So they have a huge focus on well-being, because they realize that if the nurses are taking care of their well-being and they value that they're more likely to stay in roles and to perform better, to be better nurses and be more engaged. And the hospitals are able to have better retention rates for nurses.
Right. Shared decision making is also an interesting one.
It is. Shared decision making, pushes nurses, bedside clinical nurses, into every corner of the hospital. If we're looking at getting new equipment or new treatment methods, we want to have those clinical nurses at, in those rooms making those decisions to, help us, guide us to do the right, to make the right decisions.
It's over 5 years. That grant was given to the hospital for work over 5 years to achieve that designation. So now that you've basically got some of the structure in place, what are the next steps?
The next step, the big step, is shared governance. So in any hospital, starting shared governance, to people who have been there, it's a real new concept. If you go to other hospitals that have it, it's a normal day-to-day thing.
So what is shared governance?
Shared governance is these groups, and having these nurses meet continuously and having them continuously do the, working towards the top of their license by researching best practices, to making sure our policies are up to date, making sure the well-being of our nurses is a big part of Pathway to Excellence, and making sure they're recognized,
Right.
meaningful recognition.
So, and I think those are all wonderful things, but for someone sitting out in the community, for our audience, how does that benefit them? What's the end game for our community?
It's all about benefiting the patient, increasing the quality of care that we deliver. Working on quality. Everybody comes here because they want the best care, right? You're a patient, you want
Right.
the best care. So I think that working towards Pathway to Excellence in any of these designations really focuses and keeps the nursing staff engaged to giving that best top of the license quality care, to making sure throughout the hospital, wherever you are, you're getting the best care.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about is the profession of nursing. When I first came to the hospital, which admittedly is a long time ago, nursing was a vocation. You have to want to care for people. I mean, that's sort of the basic of what it is, right? And nurses put their hands on patients, they care for them. Explain to me the profession of nursing and the idea of the education and the best practices and where they do that research. Because I think for most people in the community still, they look at a nurse, and they still have an idea of that person who comes to their bedside. But it really has become more.
Yeah, it's definitely a really specialized field of its own. Nurses are making sure that their research, they're researching things that are, evidence-based, that their practices they're doing at the bedside are, evidence-based, that the care, that your quality, your outcomes are going to be much better because the care they're providing is, there's evidence behind that.
How has this been received by the nurses so far?
I think it's been received really well. They're really excited. They really, people are, I have a huge waiting list of people who want to get on different committees because they're, they really want to be active, and they're very excited, for a small community hospital like,
Right.
St. John's, at this, gift we've been given through, the Mother Cabrini Foundation is really going to help us
Changes
with
things
this. Yeah.
for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a great career. There's so many avenues in it. It's such a fulfilling role to really help people, in every area, from every walk of life. I couldn't speak highly of it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
That's really great. So I want to thank you for being with us and telling us all about this incredible journey that our nurses are taking. And I want to wish you all the best of luck, because being a director of nursing excellence, that's something big to live up to. So with all our love and good luck, the best always in this process. And I'd like to thank our audience for being with us today. We appreciate you as well. Join us again for our next show.